Traders, how are you? With Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. It's April 6th. Weird things are happening with this Eclipse situation. We have U.S. government officials advising that there may be attacks in large gatherings. Even the government of China is advising its own citizens be afraid of unexpected events. We have other commodities that are being affected by weather and a lot more. Let's go ahead and get started. U.S. stocks started off kind of inching up during the week. Then on Thursday, they absolutely cratered after a conversation between President Biden and the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, in regards to Biden trying to urge Netanyahu to do a ceasefire, was released. And there's a lot of concern about a lot of instability that can potentially reach Eastern Europe. Situation in Ukraine, and even a larger war in the Middle East that can eventually reach Europe as well. Thanks to that, stocks traded on Thursday. Stocks were closed on Friday due to the holiday, and the Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ were all negative. The markets in the Communist Republic of Canada was positive. They went up 0.05%. In some of the conspiracy theory news, the situation with the eclipse is super weird. Super weird. States are declaring states of emergency. The latest one to do so was Indiana. Another thing that was really interesting this week is that the largest U.S. egg producer halts production at a Texas plant after a quote-unquote bird flu was found in chickens. 1.6 million laying eggs and 337 pullets were culled. Culled means they were killed. Remember during the pandemic when everybody was reporting that eggs couldn't lay eggs? Chickens could not lay eggs because of the feet? God, it seems like they're attacking our food supply. And in regards to the eclipse, going back to that, U.S. intelligence officials are warning violence targeting mass gatherings during the eclipse. And even the government of China is warning its citizens that are in the United States to, quote-unquote, prepare for various unexpected situations. I don't know what's going to happen, but I would recommend you guys don't go to a big gathering to go see the eclipse. And I would even recommend just not leaving home because it just seems super weird to me. It's like, well, why would the state of Texas, for example, decide to not allow cargo, like, the semi-trucks and all those kind of things, heavy cargo, to travel during the eclipse? Like, I don't understand. So just be on the lookout because, Overseas market news. European markets are mostly lower. Istanbul was the biggest winner there. Latin America was mixed. The biggest winner in Latin America was my dear, beloved previous Socialist Republic of Colombia, went up 4.40%. There's some news there as well. If you guys didn't hear about Ecuador going into the Mexican embassy in Ecuador to take the previous vice president out. If you guys don't know how it works, an embassy in another country, let's say Brazil's embassy in the United States is considered Brazilian sovereign soil. So they're not supposed to go in there at all for any reason. That's like the U.S. arming and giving democracy in the Middle East. But there might be some heat now in Latin America because of that situation. And in Argentina, another news, he let go 15,000 taxpayer-funded jobs as he promised on the campaign trail, letting go of that socialism that they've been voting for the last 70 years. If you guys didn't know, Argentina, once a beautiful country, I lived there. It's amazing. They have everything to be a global powerhouse, but unfortunately, after being the richest country in the world in 1900, they've been voting for the left and socialist, and now they have almost 60% poverty. So there's that. Africa and the Middle East was mostly mixed. Looking at the numbers here, Egypt was the biggest winner there. And then in the far East, Asia and Australia, we have Indonesia being the biggest winner at 5.55%, but all those markets were mostly mixed as well. Bitcoin and crypto news, we have some a-hole darlings that have been found guilty in a few trials. Do Kwon, the founder of Terra Labs and the Luna Crypto, if you guys remember, he wiped out $45 billion in market cap. He's been found liable for fraud in an SEC trial. And obviously, Sam Bankman-Fried also was sentenced to jail. But one of the things I wanted to clarify was that FTX, which remember was at one point the second largest crypto exchange in the world, they said they were going to pay their customers in whole. And what's actually happening is they liquidated the assets during the bankruptcy, and they're going to give people what the value of the crypto was back then. So Solana back then was at about $16. Don't quote me on that, but it was very low. Now it's over 179. So now instead of giving people back their Solana, which is now worth 179, for example, they're giving people back US dollars at the rate which it was before, which is, let's say, $16. So they're completely just giving it to people that were in FTX, and they're advertising this as that, they're giving everybody their money back. But in reality, people are losing a lot of money because they're not giving them their tokens back. They're just giving them back US dollars at the rate that it was before. Bitcoin for the week is down 3.40%. As of Saturday morning, it's at $67,681 in commodities. The next commodity to explode and start to have shortages outside of cacao, oil, and other things as well. Vanilla, the actual, vanilla flavored anything. They got hit. Madagascar, which is a country to the right of Africa, to the east off the coast of Kenya. If you guys know where that's at, Somalia, for example, a little bit lower. But they got hit by a cyclone or hurricane, not how they call it in Asia. And they say that the crop from this year could actually be halved. So in reality, the majority of the time, they produce about 1,500 tons on average. This year could be less than 1,000. And so one of the things that you should know as well in regards to vanilla is that the fake vanilla, the chemical stuff that they sell, for example, at Starbucks, is a gland that comes out of a beaver's butt. So they go into the beaver's butt, they take out the gland, and then they go and they make the fake vanilla with it. So be careful buying vanilla, because soon it's going to be so expensive that you're going to be drinking out of a beaver's butt, essentially. Surging oil prices pushed abroad. U.S. crude surged over 18% so far in 2024. Gold, sugar, and other things are also increasing as well. Crude prices are up to a 5-month high. This is one of the reasons that Ukraine attacked Russia with drones. They have about 1 million barrels per day out of production in their refining capacity. U.S. crude for the week went up 4.49% to 86.91. While Brent, which is the international crude, went up 4.79% to 91.17. Gold and silver this week are on absolute tear. Gold hit record high after record high, got to about $23.50, a little bit above that per ounce. Settled at $2,234 for the week. Gold went up 4.30%, while silver went up almost 10% to $27.54. Remember, the all-time high for silver was $49.45 in 1980. Financial and banking news. The U.S., by the end of the year, it's being reported that they're going to have a $1.6 trillion payment per year in interest, which is going to make it the biggest payment that they're going to have in the budget. Big problem, because the budget is, $3 or $4 trillion or so. I tried to find the number. I couldn't find it. But we're running a deficit of a few trillion a year, $1, $2, $3 trillion. And what's happening is every time that all the debt that we had before expires, they have to renew it at the higher rates of today. And so before we had 1, 2, 3% rates, right? Since 2010, 2008, 9. And now we have 5, 6, 7, 8% rates. So now the cost of the debt is skyrocketing, and they're not cutting costs because obviously, the government needs to pay Ukraine to go buy more mansions. And so it's a big, big problem that we're not going to get out of. And that's part of the reason why you're seeing Bitcoin and gold and silver and all these things starting to skyrocket, because people are starting to take the hit. The inflation in South Korea hit 3.1% in March. Germany saw inflation fall significantly, and the inflation in the Eurozone went to 2.4% in March from 2.6%. In political news, Trump posted a $175 million bail in New York fraud case, and California officially put the minimum wage at $20 for fast food workers, and the bloodbath has already started. Pizza Hut, for example, is laying off 1,200 workers. All kinds of chains are starting to raise their prices. And one of the things that the communists in California don't understand is that the companies aren't going to eat that cost, right? So this is going to add to the inflation. For example, California, because of all the taxes and everything that they have, I'm sorry if you guys can hear the dogs, they pay $7 gas, $7 a gallon gas, while in, Florida, for example, we pay $3 a gallon or so. So is not going to be good. And what's going to happen now is that a lot of these companies are going to start to invest in things like AI and robots, and they're going to start to let go all these workers. So they're going to be in a lot worse situation than they were before. In economic news, Japan's manufacturing shrank for the 10th consecutive month. Remember, Japan is the 4th largest economy in the world, and they produce quite a bit, so that's a significant number. China's manufacturing expanded in March, stepping a 5-month contraction streak. And the U.S. manufacturing expanded in March for the first time in 17 months. So we're starting to see a little bit of bump in movement in regards to manufacturing. The South Koreans' factory activity fell in contraction territory in March, following 2 consecutive months of growth. South Korea, not a major economy at all. I believe they're the 12th or 13th largest economy. Don't quote me on that. But they are the 6th largest exporter in the world. So they're a really important exporter. And a lot of, for example, the chips and things come from, Samsung, for example, is a conglomerate. They practically make almost anything for everybody. Sony TVs, for example, have Samsung screens on them. U.S. private sector job growth expanded in March, fastest pace since July 2003. The firms added 184 workers, and the U.S. economy added 303,000 workers in March. But one of the things they don't tell you that most of those jobs that were added were actually part-time workers and illegal aliens, not full-time workers. Since Biden has actually been into office, there have been an increase of almost 700,000 part-time jobs, while full-time jobs in the same time frame has gone down by 6,000. So the reality is they paint like there's more jobs, but in reality, people don't have a reliable income because they have to go work Ubers and all these other kind of things to be able to make ends meet. And the Five Guys stories, I saw in the comments you guys wanted to hear it. So basically, during the pandemic in 2020, I bought 2 hamburgers for 2 people, 2 Cokes, 2 fries for $20. And now it costs $25 just for me. Same place, so the inflation is absolutely crazy. Corporate news, shares of Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger parent called PVH plunged 22% after they said that they're giving weak guidance, meaning that they're not going to make as much money as before. Spotify rose 8% on Wednesday after they're reporting increasing their prices on their premium services, especially in the United States and various other countries. Intel went down by over 8% after they reported a $7 billion loss in their semiconductor manufacturing or foundry business in 2023. And HubSpot, which is quite a big company, they've been growing quite a bit over time. They're what's called the CRM, Customer Relations Management. Basically, when you capture a potential client, they have the whole system to be able to use that. So marketing and sales and everything to kind of have it in a complete system to offer to people. They went up 5% after Google's parent Alphabet reportedly is interested in making an offer for the company. And Tesla shares dropped over 3% after it was reported by Reuters that they're going to stop focusing on making their lower price car, the Model 2. Thankfully, Elon Musk owns Twitter, X, and he said that is a complete lie. And Thursday, McDonald's fell over 1% after they stated they were going to buy all their 225 restaurants in Israel after the amount of losses that they've captured due to the protests and the war in Israel and Palestine and Gaza. Technology, AT&T went down after they reported a data breach. Over 7 million customers' information are now on the dark web. And Google's CEO, listen to this, Google's CEO doesn't understand how its artificial intelligence did things it wasn't programmed to do. So we're walking into Terminator very quickly. International events, Venezuela is battling a record amount of wildfires, over 30,000 points. Brazil actually has satellites that covers the entire continent, all Latin America, South America. Taiwan got hit by the strongest earthquake in 25 years, 7.2, impacting images. There were buildings that fell down. The strongest earthquake in 139 years hit New York and also New Jersey. That was a 4.8. And also, if you guys didn't hear, Chile got hit by a few 5.1. So it's literally making a round. And remember, I told you guys at the beginning of the year, I think California is going to get hit in the next few years with a big one. Armed police sandguard in the country of Africa called Sierra Leone after people were digging up bodies and getting the bones to create a new drug called the zombie drug. I thought this was super weird. So now they have armed guards protecting the cemeteries. And archaeologists are now investigating claims about a long-lost group of giant humans up to 10 feet tall, that's over 3 meters, supersized human skulls, 15-inch sandals that supposedly have been coming from the caves in Lovelock, Nevada since 1912. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, the preppers were right.